What is going on, everybody? And welcome back to the Hour of Power, the Hour of Truth, and the Hour of Reality. You've landed smack dab back at the show on this network that doesn't run away from reality, right? This show heads reality right down. It's right down the path there. Welcome back to the Talking Philly Sports with MattyB program here on the Edge of Philly Sports. With your boy MattyB on the call. It is Monday, May 13th, 2024, and I hope to hell your Monday finds you in good health, good spirits, and I hope everybody had a great Mother's Day and celebrated accordingly and made that special mother in your life feel appreciated as they should be. And once again, it is a pleasure and an honor to be with you to help kick off your Philadelphia Sports Week. A pleasure and an honor that I take very seriously. That's right, very seriously. And we got a bunch of stuff to get into on the program tonight. We're going to be 2 for 4 tonight. That's what we're doing. We're going 2 for 4. I'm going to get my Eagles point out of the way right off the bat, and then we're going to jump head into the Flyers and the Phillies because we're getting into that time of the year, that special time of the year where baseball will soon reign supreme. In this town and in this country, as we're, the NFL stuff is kind of dying out now. They have the schedule release coming out on Wednesday, which will keep the kick the NFL moneymaker one last time until the real lull hits until the beginning of training camp. But we're gonna address one little minor Eagle point. Before we pivot off onto the Flyers and onto the Phillies, because we have a draft coming up in this town. Yeah, that's right, we do. A lot of people don't really remember that, or they don't really know that, but the NHL is going to have themselves a draft here at the end of June, and on this network, on the Edge of Philly Sports, it is our privilege this year to bring you at least the first round coverage of that draft on June 28th in Las Vegas. We're going to do this for the first time. It'll be the Clear the Ice crew. Or some variant of the Clear the Ice crew. I know I'm going to be on it. We're kind of trying to figure that out right now, but we're going to cover the first round of the 2024 NHL draft, as well as the first round of the 2024 MLB draft later on this summer, as well as the 2024 NBA draft a little bit later on in June as well. So draft season is definitely not over with the end of the NFL draft, as we're going to jump into all 4 of them this year. And hopefully, people are not overwhelmed. It's a lot of work. It is a lot of work preparing for a draft. I've been pretty much spearheading the NHL and the MLB one, and it's a lot of work. But it's going to be fun. And tonight, on this program right here, we're going to run a mock draft. That's right. We're going to do our first NHL mock draft for 2024. The draft order is not completely set. I mean, the NHL did their lottery picks last week. We're still, kind of dinking and dunking around with some of the other teams that are still participating in the playoffs. But for the most part, and for the most important part, we know where the Flyers are going to select in the first round at least one of their 2 picks. They have 2 picks this year. They have their own, and they have Florida's. Now, obviously, with the Panthers and the way they've been playing, it's a good shot that the Flyers will end up picking 30th overall with that Panther pick. But we're going to run a mock draft anyway tonight. We're just going to kind of see how things sort of pan out. We're going to talk about some of the players the Flyers should target. We're going to talk about some of the players the Flyers should not target. And we're going to talk about where some of these players might kind of end up in this draft, because there's a real interesting disparity between 2 players, at least, in this draft. And we're going to get into a little bit of that as well. Phillies, red hot. They're in New York with the Mets as we speak. They're losing, I believe, in the 3rd inning, but they're off to a super red hot start. Took 2 out of 3 from Miami over the weekend. I was on the call in the Fightins final yesterday where the Phillies could not finish out the sweep. Pretty critical of the way they lost that game, and it's okay to be that way. We got to stockpile these W's, and it was not a good game. And JT now is dealing with some knee soreness. You got Kyle Schwarber down with some back soreness. Of course, you got Turner out. So the armor might be kind of cracking a little bit here for the Phillies. Garrett Stubbs got the start again at catching. I think the JT Realmuto situation behind the plate needs to be resolved as soon as it possibly can be. either stick him on 10-day, bring up another catcher, because going with Garrett Stubbs as your catcher, that's not moving any of my needles, and we're definitely going to have to fix that. But we're taking it one day at a time, I guess. So we're going to get into some Phillies talk as well, but we're going to start things as we do every single week here on this program, and that is your day in Philadelphia sports history. And tonight, your day in Philadelphia sports history is brought to you by the good folks over at Sherry's Ticket Town. That's right, Sherry'sTickets.com, family-owned and operated since 1946. Great prices and no hidden fees for sports, concerts, and theater tickets. Save an additional 10% when you enter the promo code EOP10 at checkout, and they're going to take care of you. I don't buy my tickets from anybody else but Sherry's Tickets. Actually, I don't really buy my tickets at all, but if I was going to buy them, it would be from Sherry's. So let's jump right into your day in Philadelphia sports history. Today, we go back to the year 1985, the magical year of 1985, when I was 12 years old. 12 years old! And I actually remember when the news talked about this. But construction began today on 1 Liberty Place in Philadelphia, which, of course, if you remember the skyline of the city of Philadelphia, nothing eclipsed William Penn in the skyline of Philadelphia prior to today, prior to the construction beginning today on 1 Liberty Plaza. Now, when 1 Liberty was done, it was taller than Billy Penn. And what began right after that was the curse thereof Billy Penn, where the Philadelphia sports teams were cursed by William Penn for building something that was taller than him in the city of Philadelphia. It began a drought of championship futility in this city that was ended in 2008. Now, coincidentally, in 2000, I believe it was, 2007, when they finished the Comcast building, which overtowered 1 Liberty, they stuck a little William Penn on top of that building, which then, a year later, the Phillies ended up winning the World Series. So I don't know how you are with that kind of juju, and if you believe in all that, but is the curse broken? We have another one since 2008 with the Eagles, but the 1 Liberty Plaza curse of Billy Penn was in the works today in 1985. So that is your day in Philadelphia sports history, a little William Penn myth. And that was a real thing, man. We talked about that a lot when I was growing up. It was, people believed that Billy Penn cursed the city for building something taller than him. And then when the Comcast building was built, they put a little William Penn statue on top of that. It was such a real thing that somebody actually did that. They put a little William Penn on top of the Comcast building in homage to try to appease the spirits of Billy Penn. It was such a real thing and such a meaningful thing that they did that. They actually thought that was going to, they believed in the curse. And then what happens? The Phillies win the World Series. So I don't know how much you take stock into all that, but that was your day in Philadelphia sports history, with the curse of Billy Penn was born on this day in 1985. Jeff says, no, you're not talking Phillies, but I've already seen enough of Sanchez. Well, we're going to get into the Phillies a little bit later on, Jeff. I'm not going to necessarily touch on today's game, the game that's ongoing. I know it's not going well, but tonight they will touch on that on the Fightins Final. And here is your Fightins Final, Jeff. Thank you for the great segue. Here's your Fightins Final lineup for the week. The Mets are the order of the day. We're going to be doing a 2-game series in Queens and then a 2-game here at the bank. It's going to be Sal, me, Pat, and Mike taking you through that series over the next 4 days. So you're going to have enough Phillies talk, trust me. We're going to talk mainly what has been up to this point, not necessarily what's been happening tonight. So Marshawn says, what's the score? It was 3-1 last time I checked, Marshawn. I think it's something around there. But they are getting to Sanchez. They were hitting a lot of hard balls. Whit Merrifield had a play out in the outfield where I thought he should have made. It was hit hard. It was kind of hit over him, but I think he misplayed it a little bit. But I believe it's 3-1 at this point. I might be wrong, but that was the last time it was when I checked. So let's use the segue of the Phillies. Talk about the Flyers. That's right. I'm gonna lead off with the Philadelphia Flyers tonight because we are deep into. Well, I mean, not deep into it, but we're definitely into year 2 of the rebuild. Danny B came on the air a few weeks back now. It's been some time, and he said, if you're wanting instant gratification for what we've done in year one of the rebuild, then you probably are not going to like what we're going to do in year two, because essentially it's going to be the same thing. It is the same battle plan for year two of the rebuild in terms of how they're going to add to this roster. They're going to use the lower levels of free agency because we still have some salary cap issues. We're going to trade players. We're going to field calls on trades for players. And we're going to utilize the draft and the assets the Flyers have in this draft. 9 picks, by the way, the Flyers do have in the 2024 NHL draft. That starts on June 28th in Las Vegas. And once again, another shameless plug, we will be covering at least the first round of that draft on June 28th here on the Edge of Philly Sports. But that's what's going to be. And obviously we have some more questions than answers, I guess, at this point in the free agency process. It's not free agency yet. It doesn't happen until 24 hours after the final game of the Stanley Cup Finals. That's when NHL free agency begins. So what? And there's a couple new wrinkles that are, or at least one new wrinkle that's been thrown into the free agent issue or into the year two rebuild issue, and that's goaltending, an issue that the Flyers didn't necessarily plan on having, or maybe they did by drafting all the goalies they drafted last year. Remember the second, third round picks, back-to-back goalies the Flyers selected last year, Carson Bjornsson and Igor Zaradin, the Russian goalie, who I thought had an actual better season than Kovasov did, but I think there's a contract issue with him to bring him over. But we have a goaltending problem because obviously with the Carter Hart situation, what are we doing there? So the Flyers have, Danny B has pretty much said what we're doing. We're going to go out and we're going to run a tandem next year of Sam Ersson and Ivan Fedotov. That is what your goalie situation will be for year two of the rebuild. The Flyers like the prospects they have in their system. Do they add a one or two more in this draft? I would be very surprised if they did. Do they go out and sign a veteran? That's going to be an interesting point because Felix Sandstrom and Cal Peterson, mercifully, will be free agents. So, I mean, where does that leave the Phantoms? You got Kovasov down there. He might be the starter, but I don't see really anybody that's ready to come up into the AHL and back him up. So what are the Flyers going to do with that? Do they go out and sign a journeyman NHL fringe guy that may be kind of on the wrong side of his career and just looking for another year of playing hockey and put him down in the AHL? I don't know. Or do they sign a journeyman and put him in the NHL, the backup Ersson, and send send Fedotov down? I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how that kind of plays out. But the Flyers will draft, and they will draft at 12, as the lottery was done last week, when the Flyers had, they have like a 2% chance of going up from 12 to 1, like a 6% chance going up to 12 to 2, and of course they didn't go up anywhere. They stayed right where they are at 12. And now a lot of questions are about, what is going to be at 12? What are the players that the Flyers could potentially be choosing from at 12? And tonight, here in about a second, we're going to run a mock draft. We're going to run a mock draft through the first round. We might talk some players from other teams that we're going to get selected, but obviously we're going to center in on what the Flyers are going to do at 12. So let's do it now. Let's bring it up. Here we go. This is our mock draft simulator. This is your first round picks. I'll bring it up here so you guys can see it all. San Jose with the number 1 overall selection this year's draft. Chicago Blackhawks coming in at 2. And it must be nice to go from 1 overall last season, and they're going to select 2nd overall this year. Anaheim, Columbus, Montreal, Arizona, which of course is not Arizona, it's the Utah team. They don't have a name yet, but the Arizona Coyotes are no more. They are now in Utah. Ottawa's at 7, the Kraken at 8, Calgary at 9, the Devils at 10, Buffalo at 11, the Flyers are picking 12, Minnesota 13, San Jose again at 14, courtesy of the Penguins, Detroit at 15, St. Louis 16, Washington 17. Now we're kind of getting out of the lottery picks and moving into currently what it is sort of like, if the season were to end now, based on some percentages, even though the NHL does this as you get eliminated, and then they percentage you in. But this is sort of kind of projecture at this point. But you got the Islanders, Vegas, Chicago, or Tampa, L.A., Nashville, Toronto, Edmonton, Colorado, Boston, Winnipeg, Carolina, Vancouver. They're the Flyers again now projected at 30. Again, things are, still kind of winding itself out. And now Dallas would pick 31. And I guess based on percentages and the fact that right now, if you were to put some money down, the Rangers are probably your closest bet in winning a Stanley Cup, and they would pick 32 under this system that we're running right now. So let's get into this, right? Let's jump right into the draft. Over there on the right-hand side, you can see some of the players that are available, obviously, for San Jose, who is picking number 1 overall. Let's look at some of, real quick, I'm not going to do this for everybody, but let's look at some of the needs that this simulator has projected that the San Jose Sharks need. I think there's 8 spots here. There could be like 15 for this team. That's how desperate San Jose is for talent. When I set the parameters for this mock draft, I turned randomness all the way down to 0, and I put team needs all the way up to 100%. So this is a draft based purely on team needs. And we're gonna run the simulation here. Let's do it right now. So with the first overall pick in this year's draft, no surprise here, Macklin Celebrini, the very highly touted centerman from Boston University. As you can see here, potential top line play driver, equals part sniper and playmaker, incredible anticipation and a high IQ. He is also excels in goal scoring and two-way play. This kid, last year with Connor Bedard, I remember watching the World Juniors, and Macklin was playing for Team Canada along with Connor, and he was kind of overshadowed by, of course, an immense talent in Connor Bedard. But Celebrini definitely made his mark with me, at least, during that tournament. I took some time this year, watched a lot of his play. The style of play they had him in Boston U was really a perimeter style type of offense when they were set. But what he excelled really, and what I think sets him apart and what makes him the first number 1 overall anticipated pick, is what he does with the puck and how he attacks and how he sheds defensemen. There's lots of video out there of him, and some of the stuff that I've segregated is just him pretty much bulldozing his way through, a la like an Eric Lindros type of forward, and just pushing his way to the net with the puck, and either finishing or catching on rebounds. He's got an outstanding shot, hence the perimeter style play that they had him playing in college. But definitely, is he a generational player? Probably not. Is he a day one NHLer? 100%, absolutely. And he's a no-brainer at number 1 overall for a team in San Jose that really needs a lot. So you got Macklin Celebrini going 1 overall to the San Jose Sharks. Let's go now to pick over number 2 overall is Artem Levshanovov, the right-handed defenseman from Michigan State. Yeah, plays for Michigan State. I mean, I don't know how that happened, but this is more of a, like, when I look at this kid play, one, he's a right-handed shot. You can never, ever, 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 ever have enough of these guys, right-handed shot defensemen. He's got a lot of chemotimonin in him. If you ever watch him, he also plays big. He plays physical, but he is not, in no sense of the word, a goon. 6'2", 198 pounds, probably needs to get a little bit bigger weight-wise, but he's got the height. And a no-brainer at number 2. The only question here with the Chicago Blackhawks is this what they want? He is also, in my opinion, a day 1 NHLer, so he's going to start probably next year in the NHL. But does Chicago go right-handed D at number 2 overall? It's going to be interesting because there's a disparity, and I'm going to get to the player here in a minute. And I've seen this player selected as high as this pick here at number 2. But again, with this randomness, the way I've set the parameters, I've turned off all the randomness and I cranked way up team needs. And this is what they got him going to Chicago at number 2. Here's Anaheim, who says that their biggest need is goalie. I would be like I'd have a heart attack if Anaheim selected a goalie here. So They're going to go with Ivan Demidov, the right wing, Martin St. Louis Russian version. As this kid has got wheels, man. This kid has got wheels on wheels. He does not play in the KHL. He plays in the MHL, which is the Russia's second best league. And this kid can score. This kid is a goal scorer. This kid is a playmaker. Not only is he a goal scorer, he knows what to do with the puck. Again, if you segregate video of him, you go out there and look for some video. There's a lot of video of him passing. There's a lot of video of him pulling defensemen to him as he pretty much skates by them, and they're just trying to catch up, which, of course, opens up lanes all over the ice for his teammates. A no-brainer here at number 3. I just don't know if Chicago passes up on him here, but no-brainer for me for this guy. Definitely 100%. I agree with that pick. Now, moving on to Columbus, who's in desperate need of a centerman, and they got Cole Yzerman. This is my favorite player in this entire draft. Second favorite player. Third favorite. Second. He's my second favorite player. Couple things about Cole, though. He's 17. He'll be 18 this summer, right? He has not played any higher than the United States Development Program, which he has done for both the national level for USA Hockey and in the United States Hockey League, which is our version here in the United States of the CHL. Now, the CHL in Canada is possibly the top junior league in the world, right? It's almost like a breeding ground for the draft, right? We select players in that draft all the time. It is the number one place that scouts go to look for the next new talent. It's a professional league up there in Canada. There are some teams in the United States, but mainly in Canada. It's comprising of 3 different leagues, the OHL, the WHL, and the QJMHL. And that is like your number one feeder ground. But down here in the lower 50 in the United States, we have the USHL, which is a kind of a prep league. It's a major junior league, but it's an amateur league. So none of the players in that league get paid. But what they go and why they play there is to get exposure for the draft or for signing with major college programs. And Yzerman is one of those types of players who is not going to be NHL ready next year. He is going to college. He's already, I believe it's Northwestern. Is it Northwestern? I think it's Northwestern that he's already committed to. So he will not be in the NHL next year. Now, is he a one-and-done type guy? And, of course, we have a lot of experience dealing with college players that, have a lot of time on their hands to think about things. So, if Columbus picks him, which I would say got to pick him here. If he's available at 4, you got to take him. Does Columbus want to, wait for a player? He's not going to be there next year. He's definitely 100% not going to be there. He's only 17. Not to say that he could not get into the league. But at 6 foot, 196 pounds, I think people are going to want to see him playing against a higher level competition. And in the NCAA Division I, he'll get that exposure. So Cole Yzerman is not a reach by no stretch of the imagination. He's a quality. He's going to be a very good NHL player, but it's not going to happen today. So Columbus, and I'm not even going to say Columbus is going to gamble on him. It's just not going to pay off next year. Montreal has the next pick at 5, and they're going to go with Berkeley Catton. Now, this kid, out of the he plays out of the WHL for the Spokane Chiefs. This is one of the players that the disparity exists with, right? I've seen him as high as 2, right? I've seen him as high as the Blackhawks taking him at 2. Now, I've also seen him as low as like 10. I've seen him here at 5. I've seen him all over the top 10. And it's pretty much going to kind of pan out to where a lot of players or a lot of teams value him or they value his position. And at 5'11", 163 pounds, not much there right now. He has only been, I think this was his second year with Spokane. He'll probably return next season. I don't necessarily think he's a day one NHLer. I think that they want to see him another year in major junior hockey, but he has the tools as well. He can motor. He's an excellent shooter. He's got high-level hockey IQ. Definitely knows what to do with the puck and when to do it. But it's very confusing why he is so up and down in the top 10. And it pretty much boils down to team needs. But he's a centerman. Could the Flyers use him? I would take him. But I'm not. I'm a little concerned by the 5'11" stature. That's small. That's small in the NHL, and I don't care what era of hockey it is. He's got to put on some weight. 163 pounds. I mean, he's going to get destroyed at the NHL level at that height or that weight. So is he a project? Again, I don't think he's a project per se, but I don't necessarily think he's day one. Next, you got the Utah Pit team. They don't have a team yet. They're the team formerly known as the Arizona Coyotes, who now play in Utah, with 6 overall, and they're going to go with Konstas Helenius, the centerman from the overseas in Finland. I like this guy too. I had him as one of my top 3 Flyer choices. Again, a little bit undersized at 5'11", but he's a little bit heavier at 181. I believe he is, if not NHL ready, he's North American hockey ready next year. So if Utah picks him here, could he find his way onto an NHL roster on day one with them? He might be a camp decision. But I 100% think and agree with him coming over right away next season to at least start his pro career. If it's in the NHL or if it's in the AHL. I definitely think that he is going to be a day one type of guy, at least for the pro program. So there's the Utah pick at 6. And now we go down to the Ottawa Senators picking at 7. And they're going to go with Zeev Boehm, the left-handed defenseman, another interesting prospect who I've had a lot of attention to, a left-handed shooting defenseman. 6 foot, 183 pounds. He needs to put on about 20 more pounds, if you ask me, of muscle. But he is definitely your prototypical 21st century defenseman, an offensive defenseman. But he likes the blue line. He can manage the blue line. He can quarterback a PK. He could also quarterback a power play. Coming out of the University of Denver, he's probably, again, pro ready now. I haven't really checked on him. I probably will. I probably should have, but I haven't. I don't know if he's committed for next season. But he played in Denver last year for the University of Denver. University of Denver is one of the top NCAA hockey programs in the country. And, but if he decides not to go back, and if that's what he decides to do, I could definitely see him in the mix for the Ottawa Senators next year. They need some help on their blue line. They got some decent forwards there. Ottawa's an interesting franchise, man. They're just kind of stuck in neutral. But definitely some help out on the blue line, and I think Zeev fits that for them at number 8 or number 7. All right, we're moving down the draft a little bit further, and let's go now to the Seattle Kraken at number 8 overall. And they got my boy Zane Parika, another, and this is, again, look at that coveted right-handed shot, man. He's a right-hand defenseman. He, again, is oozes the prototypical 21st century defenseman, offensive defenseman. A lot of film on him carrying the play. And when I mean carrying the play, I don't mean carrying into the zone and then setting the zone up or, back checking to create, some offense or forechecking to create offense. No, I mean him getting the puck and skating, coast to coast. He is that type of player. He plays like a right wing, but he does have some really good defense. The defense is good, but it needs some, it needs some work, and that's probably why he's down there at number 8, currently in the OHL with the Saginaw Spirit. I believe this is his second year with the Spirit, so he probably will return next season as well. So he will not, in my estimation, be a day one NHLer. Seattle's probably, if they go here with this pick, it's that right-handed shot that you just can't. It just draws you in, man. When you find a right-handed defenseman who's got some offensive ability, you can't walk away from it. It's like a car accident, man. You got to keep looking at it, and you find yourself kind of making excuses for it or justifying it. But Zane here at 8, I think it's a good pick. If he's there at 8, I would not be surprised if he goes higher than 8. But I like him at 8 for Seattle. That takes us to 9. We're getting closer. And with the Calgary Flames, Anton Silyev, the left-handed defenseman, he plays currently in the KHL, another Russian player. Again, is this a pick that the Calgary Flames, is this something that they're looking for? I honestly think Calgary needs a little bit more help up front. They're trying to kind of put the pieces together since getting rid of Gaudreau. I don't necessarily look at a defenseman here. Calgary might look to move up in this draft if that's what the need here is. But at 9, if that's where they can't go up any higher than 9, this is a good pick. He's not going to be, I believe, he's still under contract in the KHL, so I don't think he'll be over next season. But he's a big guy. He's like a 6'7", 207 pounds. Jesus Christ, 6'7". Skates really good for his size, smart and physical, and but he's a defenseman. But is Calgary looking for that at 9? I think that at 9, yeah, you'd probably take that. But I think Calgary's got some more needs up front, and they might want to address that. And I don't know if they'll be able to address it at 9. Or, there's some players that are falling back below 9 that we're about to get into and talk about. I wouldn't be surprised to see Calgary, grab one of these guys. But if this guy is here for them at 9, there is some blue line needs for the Calgary Flames. They may take them. Now the Devils at 10. It's interesting where they have their need there as a big goalie. That's absolutely correct. New Jersey desperately needs a goalie. But I don't know if there's any first-round talent goalies in this draft. But Jersey definitely needs a goalie. That has been probably their Achilles heel. At least I know it was 2 seasons ago. Not so much last season. They had all kinds of other issues. But they need a goaltender. They need to find a goaltender. They got a couple decent goaltenders at the AHL level. Mikko Dahls, Hirscher's a pretty decent goalie, but they need someone. They need I'm not gonna say they need a Brodeur. They do, and I'm not saying there's one here, but they need somebody like that. And they're not going goalie with their first pick because I don't think there's any first round talent goalies in this draft. Instead, they're going to go with Sam Dickinson from the London Knights. This guy's got Brian Leetch all over him. I don't care. I've watched him all season long out of necessity because of Denver Berkey and Oliver Bonk. They're all teammates with the London Knights. And, so watching film on those guys, Sam Dickinson is always in it because this guy is an offensive machine. He's a goal-scoring machine. He's an assist machine. He's got a great shot. He's very much so in charge on the ice. I know it says questionable decision-making. I don't necessarily put that as an issue with him. I've watched him a lot at the major junior level. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know where they're pulling this from. But I watched him take over plays. I've watched him assist on a ton of Denver Berkey's goals. I watched him and Oliver Bonk working together on the blue line. I mean, this kid is the real deal. And if he had fallen 2 spots down, I would be very interested in potentially the Flyers taking him. He is a left-handed shot, but more to that, a little bit later on. But Sam Dickinson going to the Devils at 10, which takes us down to the Buffalo Sabres at 11, and another snake-bitten franchise here in the Sabres. They need just about everything. The simulator says that their number one need is a power left wing. There really ain't many power left wings in this draft, but let's go ahead, and they're going to go ahead with the right winger, a European player by the name of Michael Brandseg Nygrid, and from Norway. So he's 6'1", 198 pounds, high compete forward, generates changes off effort, strong forecheck, IQ, and grit. This could be a good pick for them. I would hope to God that if this draft works the way it's going to work out, that they take him at 11 and leave what I want at 12 for the Flyers. But again, I'm not going to. If the Flyers are left with this guy as their number one prospect on the board, I'm going to go there. Right wing is another position on this team that's not necessarily. I'm talking about the Flyers, not necessarily a position of need. We have some right wingers, but you know what? I'm not going to pass up this guy because I like the forecheck. He's very aggressive on the forecheck, and we watched the Flyers really kind of thrive off the forecheck this season, right? The Flyers, who don't really necessarily have forechecking players, really utilized it well under John Tortorella. It really created a lot of off chances for them, a lot of odd man rushes, a lot of breakaways, all that kind of stuff. And this guy would be amazing in that role. Is he a day one NHLer? Probably yes, but not necessarily in the NHL. I think he's a day one pro, but whether or not he ends up in the NHL day one, we'll have to wait and see. But that's where Buffalo's going to go. And then the Flyers are up next at 12. Here we go. So the simulator is saying that their number one need is a two-way right-handed defenseman. I agree with that, but I don't necessarily think it's their number one need. It says their needs. If anybody else who knows the Flyers or who watches this team, it's got to be center. We just don't have enough centers on this team. We don't have enough impact centermen. And if the Flyers go right-handed D here, I'm going to be mad, especially the way this draft is broke so far. There's a couple players sticking, and I'm looking at one of them right now. So I'm looking at this guy as my number one pick. But if the Flyers go right-handed D here, I'm going to be kind of mad. But here we go. Let's see what the simulator has the Flyers drafting here at 12. I get the draft. I forgot. I get the draft here at 12. So let's look at the players that the simulator has put up here as our top three choices. Trevor Connolly is a left wing from the Tri-City Storm from the USHL. We already talked about what the USHL represents. It is a prep junior hockey league. Trevor Connolly has committed to go to college next year. He's out of the mix. He'll be available, but not necessarily day one NHLer. He's going to be a day one NCAAer. And then here we go. I'm not even going to go any further than number 12 here on this list. Caden Lindstrom, the center from the Medicine Hat Tigers. Let me go ahead and make that pick right now. I am going with Caden. 6'4", 216 pounds, big, strong power forward with excellent offensive skills, dangerous and close. IQ is a question. But you know what? Look at the other things that they said about him. Big, strong power forward with excellent offensive skills. That means big, good, fast hands. I want him camped out in front of the net. I want him cleaning up rebounds. I want him on that power play to clean up rebounds. This is a no-brainer for me. Caden Lindstrom at 12 for the Flyers. He is my number one choice to be drafted by the Flyers. He is 18 years old right now. He is not currently under contract, or, it's juniors. It works a different way. But his junior career, this would be, he just finished up his second kind of full season in major junior hockey. He had a partial season in 2021-22 at Medicine Hat. We only played 6 games, but last year, 22-23, he had 61 games. This year, 32 games. He had some injury issues, but in those 32 games, 27 goals, 19 assists for 46 points. He also had 4 games in the playoffs, but Medicine Hat this year where he scored a goal and he had an assist. Is he day one NHL? Great question. That is the question that I want to know. Is he day one? Probably not. Probably not. He's probably not a day one. I would think Danny B would probably want him another year in Medicine Hat, and I'd be okay with that because our timeline is still kind of over the Michkov thing, right? Michkov could be here next year, could be here more likely in 2 years. So I think Caden Lindstrom fits that timeline of Michkov, and I would be okay with him sitting another year in major junior hockey. But Caden Lindstrom is my number one choice for the Philadelphia Flyers at 12. I think it's a no-brainer. He is the other player that is the kind of the confusing thing with Berkey Canton. I've seen Caden go as high as 3. I've seen Caden go as high as 2. I've seen him go as 9, 8. I've seen him all over the draft board, and along with Canton, they're just all over the place. These two players, to me, those two players, Canton and Caden Lindstrom, are the linchpins here of this draft, and who goes first and where, whether or not the Flyers will be able to pick him. I don't think he's going to be there at 12. I would love for him to be there at 12. I don't think he will. This simulator does have him being there at 12 again. I told you I've turned off all the randomness and cranked up all the team needs stuff. But that would be great if Caden Lindstrom could be there at 12. It's a no-brainer for me for the Flyers to select him. We're going to go rapid fire here through the next few picks. We're going to go down to 30. Some good players are coming off the board. Again, if the Flyers don't get Caden Lindstrom, there's still some really good players that they could find themselves with. But let's go on down to 30 here, so where the Flyers are picking again right now. So here we go. This is what the Flyers are left with at 30 overall. So by this simulator, we're looking at a two-way right-handed defenseman. That is still their number one need. They got two-way left-handed defenseman, a big goaltender. Again, this is the Carter Hart effect. I don't think the Flyers, they better not draft a goalie in the first round. Goal-scoring right wing, goal-scoring left wing, offensive right-handed defenseman, offensive left-handed defenseman, a grinder at right wing, a grinder at left wing, and a goalie. I'm going to go here, this is interesting of the players that I have here, but I'm going to go ahead and I am going to take at 20, the number 27th left player on the board, Tanner Howell, a left wing out of the Regina Pats of the WHL. He's a left wing. We have an abundance of left wings. We do. But he reminds me a lot of Travis Konechny. He plays a lot like him. 5'11", 181 pounds. Small but sturdy and tenacious, plays physical, goes hard to the net, smart, not elite offensively. But again, if I'm going to have Caden Lindstrom up there, that's who's the guy that's cleaning up rebounds. But this is the kind of guy that's going to create the puck onto the net. So I'm going to go ahead here with Tanner Howell. Let's take a look at a little bit of Tanner. Tanner is entering. He's been with the Regina Pats. This will be his. He's coming off his third full season with Regina, so there's a good chance that he could be a camp guy this year. I don't know if another year of major junior hockey is what Tanner would need. I think the Flyers would be hard-pressed not to bring him in to camp and at least take a look at him. Again, I don't know how much more at that level he needs. I think now it's time for him to kind of up it. Maybe he's a fixture in Lehigh next year, but I definitely think he's a pro, a day one pro. So I'm going to go ahead with Tanner Howell as my first, as my 30th overall pick. And there you go. We're going to stop the simulator there and with Tanner Howell. So there you have our first mock draft of the year for the Flyers. Caden Lindstrom and Tanner Howell are my number 1 and 2 picks for the Flyers in the first round. We're going to do this the rest of the way, kind of leading up to the draft. We'll take a look at round 2 next week and kind of work our way through the draft a little bit as we get into some of the lesser known players that maybe people haven't heard about but could actually help the Flyers out. But Tanner Howell, or Caden Lindstrom and Tanner Howell, get me some Caden Lindstrom at the very least bit. I know Tanner will be there probably at 30, but I pray to God that Caden Lindstrom is there at 12 for the Flyers. Again, we're going to be covering the first round of the draft, so hopefully my dreams come true while I'm alive doing this. It reminds me a lot of Eric Lindros. Definitely has an Eric Lindros vibe about him. I'm not comparing him to Eric Lindros. I'm just telling you he is that in stature to an Eric Lindros, and we have desperately needed one of those players since Eric Lindros. We haven't really had one. I know the sport is not necessarily driven or built around those types of players anymore, but to get one who has the 21st century ability to skate along with his size and his hands and his ability to play physical up front, I mean, the Flyers need it, man. We got to build a franchise. And if Mitchkov is the right wing piece, Caden Lindstrom is the centerman. And then Tanner Howell could be the left wing. I mean, again, Tanner Howell plays and reminds me a lot like Travis Konechny. So I'm going there. And I really hope that it works out that way for the Flyers, because I think those are the two best players that the Flyers could see themselves with at the end of night 1 of the NHL draft. And so there you go. There's our first mock draft ever. First ever NHL mock draft. I hope you enjoyed it. It wasn't quite the, PPF or whatever that thing they do for football and all that, but hey, you got the point, right? And that segment here on the program was brought to you by the Cherry Injury Law Group. Dave Cherry at 610-565-0300 for your workman's compensation, motor vehicle accident, personal injury, and criminal law questions, comments, concerns. Give Dave a holler at 610-565-0300. Tell him MattyB and the boys over at EOP sent you. So, all right, there you go. I feel better now that I've gotten that hockey thing out, right? I'm glad that we were able to talk somewhat intelligently about hockey. But, Macklin Celebrini, consensus number one. And then after that, all bets are off. But if Berkeley Catton and Caden Lindstrom, if it falls the way this simulator does, I'll be a very happy man come June 28th if the Flyers can select Caden Lindstrom. And, of course, there's a couple fallback players there that were still available at 12. Tijagilna is the other one, the centerman from the he's out in the Western Hockey League as well. The son of Jerome Magilna, the Hall of Fame player from the Calgary Flames. He's got that big presence as well, skates really well. He's definitely not necessarily a comparison to Caden Lindstrom. I don't know if Gilna is he'll probably go back for another year of juniors next season. But, if that's what I'm left with, I would definitely take him there. But, yeah, I mean, you got to give me some Caden Lindstrom, man. I got to get him. So yeah, there we go. Pat Bernard says, "What's up, brother?" Hey, Pat, how you been? How you doing? So, all right, let's turn our gears now towards the Philadelphia Phillies because we got ourselves a really hot baseball team. And again, don't worry about what's happening tonight because that's not what this conversation is about. The conversation about tonight will be later on tonight when you tune into the Fightins Final immediately following the game against the Mets. Sal, me, Pat, and Mike got you covered here for the week. The 2-2, the home and home with the Mets. But let's talk about the Phillies at the quarter point of the season. That's right. We've reached the quarter mark of the 2024 MLB season. I mean, where is it going, man? 41 games in, and we're about at the quarter mark. I mean, it's 162 games. Maybe like the seventh inning yesterday was the actual official quarter mark of the season, but it is what it is. So far through 41 games, the Phillies are 28-13. I believe it's the best record in all Major League Baseball. They were coming off of a 1-2 March and an outstanding 19-9 April, and so far off to an 8-2 May. Last year, the Phillies were 10-16 in May. So the Phillies are 2 wins away from eclipsing or tying at least their entire win total for the month of May. They've been doing it in ways that have made me feel really, really good about certain things that we saw from last season. The swing home runs or bust was the mantra of this team. They're still hitting home runs, 49 of them through 41 games. It's over one a game. But look at the other numbers that are really impressing me. The other number, I should say, that's impressing me. 99 for 348 with runners in scoring position. That's their batting average. That's what they've had in terms of the runners in scoring position stat. And that batting average works out to a 284. Wow. I will take that. We'll take that any day of the week. Compared to what the Phillies have been over the last few seasons with runners in scoring position, to be at 284, to be batting at 284, 41 games into the season is something that makes me cry. It makes me happy. It makes my heart sing because that means the Phillies are trying to find ways to win other than bashing home runs. They're just happening to get home runs as well because they got home run hitters, but they're finding ways to put the ball in play. They're finding ways to move runners along. They're finding ways to play situational baseball. And that's a very good thing. The Phillies have left 285 runners on base through 41 games, and that's close to 7 a game. That number needs to come down. They averaged about 7.5 last year. So right now they're actually doing better than their season average of a year ago, but I'm not happy with that. I'm also not happy with the 361 team strikeouts, which is closing in on 9 a game. That number was going down over the span of about 7 or 8 games, about 10 games ago. It's spiked since then, but they averaged about that same amount last year. I can't live with 9. I really can't. I don't think in any era of baseball anybody can live with 9 strikeouts a game. They got to work on that. But the fact that they're still batting 284 with runners in scoring position, with striking out almost 9 times a game, and with leaving 7 runners on base, and on top of everything else, they've scored 215 runs, which is over 5 a game. That's where you want to be in the MLB, right? You want to be scoring over 5 runs a game. That is the good number to be at. And they're only giving up over about 3.5 a game. So it's balancing itself out. But the way they've been winning games and the way they've been kind of just sort of like baseballing their way through, it's just it's an amazing thing. And with all the criticism I give them, with all the Rob Thompson distrust that I have, because yesterday we saw what Rob Thompson can do to a team and do to a game if they let him. It's good to see. Now, do we have some issues? Of course. The Kyle Schwarber in leadoff is still not settling well with me. The bullpen is an issue that cannot go unaddressed the rest of the season. If they don't address the bullpen, I'm telling you this on May 13th. If the Phillies do not address the bullpen, we are not winning a World Series. That is 100% factual. You can take all the 284 batting average of runners in scoring position. You can take the 49 home runs. You can take all that and throw them right out the window if we do not address this bullpen. Because this bullpen is not an October bullpen right now. It is not. And you can tell me all day long that Hoffman's going to, he'll get hot. Kirkering might get hot. Whatever. You can tell me Strom is pitching well. Yeah, that's true. But there's critical pieces in this bullpen. Well, there's two areas of the bullpen that really scare me. One is the fact that we don't have roles. And that's something that I've had to deal with since Rob Thompson's been here, and I hate it. We have no roles. And number two is Sir Anthony Dominguez and Greg Soto. These two individuals are going to torpedo this season if the Phillies allow. Areas need to be addressed. Can we address two relief pitchers in season upgrades? I don't think we can. Did Dave Dombrowski fail to address the bullpen coming out of last season? It's looking like he might have. Is the bullpen without roles? Is that something that everybody's okay with? I'm not, and I don't think it's going to work. So if there's one area you want to gravitate towards, if there's one area of this team that is really the kind of the anchor around their neck, it's the bullpen. And I don't know how much they can improve the bullpen in season. I really don't. They've committed 23 errors through 41 games. That's a little bit high, too. They've grounded into 26 double plays. I can live with that. They've stolen 49 bases, which is over one a game. So, again, the aggressive base running, the contact hitting, the spike in the runners in scoring position batting average are all relative here. They're all connected. It's been a great thing to watch, but it's May. We're 41 games in. When we get to the midway point, are we going to still be talking about the hottest team in baseball? Are we going to still be talking about the major league leading record Philadelphia Phillies? I've heard a lot of interesting things over the last few days. They've comped them to the 93 Phillies. I don't necessarily believe that. They've comped this starting rotation to the 4-ace rotation of 2011. Are you insane? This rotation's done well. It's solid. It ain't the 2011 rotation by no stretch of the imagination. The Phillies are finding their own way to get through, and that's a good thing. They're winning games where they need to win them. They're fighting back in games. They're contact hitting. They're situationally hitting. It's a great thing. It's a great story right now, but we're 41 games in. We're at the quarter mark of the season. It deserves a quarter mark check-in, and it's a very good one, but we got a lot of baseball left to play. As I said last night on the show, a bazillion games left, and the Phillies really need to kind of hunker down. They're going through some times right now. They got some injury concerns. We'll see how those kind of work themselves out. But all in all, you got to be happy with the Phillies a quarter of the way through the season, and I am very, very happy. So Star Wars 99.6 and it says they're losing 3-1. Yes, they are absolutely losing 3-1. So, but again, make sure you're tuned in tonight. Win, lose, or draw to the Titans final. Sal will take you home, and he got you there. All right, that little nugget of information that I provided you here on the program was given to you or brought to you in part by the good folks over at Dolan's. Dolan's at the 24 East Hours Avenue in Ridley Park, Pennsylvania. And don't forget about their Wiffle Ball Maniac Spring Classic on May 25th. John Kruk, Mickey Morandini will be in the house. So make sure you come out and see them and check out everything that they're doing because it's going to be fun for the whole family. That's down at Dolan's on May 25th. And then go there now anyway. Just, pop in and see PJ. This is our lineup here on EOP for this week. Today it was trending in the AM. The football smack talk show. Me, Party on Broad here in about 5 minutes. And then the Titans final will wrap you up. And everything else that we got going on this week. If you can't find it on EOP, there's a couple things going on. One, you're not a real Philadelphia sports fan. And two, you're not looking hard enough. So make sure you check out everything on Edge of Philly Sports. And don't forget, one of the last final sponsors we'll talk about here. I don't even have them on here, do I? Yes, I do. Who am I missing? Oh yes, I'm missing Philly Sports Trips. I don't have an ad for them, but Philly Sports Trips. Don't forget about them. All right, a lot of stuff going on. We got the trips going out to Boston, trips going out to Chicago, trips going out to Pittsburgh, trips going out to London. Got the Eagles schedule drop coming up on Wednesday. And you got all this great stuff. And Philly Sports Trips, if you want to go and check out these games, don't look any further than Philly Sports Trips. You got to go and connect yourselves with these guys. You'll take a trip. A trip that will remain with you forever, and you'll be going with like-minded individuals, and you'll be celebrating with people that want to celebrate the same things you want to celebrate. So make sure you head over to phillysportstrips.com right now. Check out everything that Vince and the crew have to offer. And then don't forget our sponsor for the Fightins Final, the Streetlight Kitchen and Bar at 5400 Fern Boulevard in Drexel Hill, PA, at the Drexel Brook Event Center and Holiday Inn Suites. I did it. Finally got through it without messing that one up. But make sure you check out that place too. Pat says in our World Series run from 2 years ago, at the same time we were heading on pace to be 12 games out of first. I hope we don't bottom out by the end of the season like the Birds. Yeah, it's a valid point, Pat, and it's something to be concerned about. We had to get off to a hot start if we wanted to be considered a divisional rival or divisional contender. We got there. We're there. Now it's about trying to stay there, and that's harder than getting there. So hopefully it does work out for the Phillies, and hopefully they can find their way through some balance, through some hard times. And the hard times are just starting. We got injury issues, and those injury issues will probably mount a little bit more as we move through the course of this season. And now you add, JT and Kyle Schwarber. What's going on there? You add the Rob Thompson effect. I mean, there's a lot of variables here that are still unknown, but a red hot team right now. And even though they're struggling a little bit here tonight against the Mets, but make sure you're tuning in to all the great Phillies action. And I think I've run out of my dime. I think I am complete for the week. So a lot of stuff tonight. We were able to, I did not mention the Eagles. I did not, and I'm not going to. I'm going to let that go. Schedule, I did. I mentioned the schedule release. Coming out Wednesday. Make sure you're tuned in for it. It's a big to-do in the NFL. So schedule will be coming out on Wednesday. We already know who the Eagles are opening up against. It's just a matter of seeing where they come out on. What is the over and under on more than 3 1 o'clock games this year? I hated that. I could not stand that. I mean, come on, man. 3 1 o'clock games all season long. I hope to God it's more balanced out this year. I really do. But we'll find out Wednesday whether or not that's going to happen. But make sure you're tuned in for that. And I'm sure I know EOP will be all over it. I will not break the schedule down. I am not breaking the schedule down until the end of August when we come back for the Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn. And I'll put that up there right there. That's when I will officially break down the Eagles schedule for 2024. Not until then, because it's friggin' May, and I'm not going to go there. So, and I got a lot of things going on, man. I'm busy as hell. So, one less thing is not too bad. So, but schedule release is on Wednesday. So there's my Eagles thing. I went 3 for 4 tonight. Sixers are entering free agency. Not really. I'm not going to get into that. You can tune into the other programs. They'll love to talk about the Sixers and their doomed franchise. But we did discuss a lot of hockey tonight. We ran the first ever mock draft on EOP ever. That's right. I ran the very first mock NHL draft ever on the Edge of Philly Sports, and I want Caden Lindstrom as my number 1 overall pick. Number 12 overall from Medicine Hat of the Western Hockey League. Centerman. Got a lot of Erich Lindros vibes about him. I don't know if he's going to be there at 12. I've seen him all over the board. I've seen him as high as 2. I've seen him as low as 12. So let's see and let's hope that it breaks that way for the Flyers. I also got Tanner Howe going to the Flyers with the 30th pick overall, the pick from Florida. I think he's it reminds me a lot of Travis Konechny. He's a left winger, not necessarily a position of need here, but I can't resist him if he's available at 30. I would take him and paired him up somewhere on the lines of the future with Mishkov and Lindstrom. It would look really nice. But next week we may jump into round 2. We'll see if there's time. But that's our plan here, is to kind of run you through all 7 rounds and talk some hockey to get you ready for this year's NHL draft. But which, of course, one last time, we will be covering round 1 of that draft for you in its entirety here on the Edge of Philly Sports on June 28th from Las Vegas. The round 1 of the NHL draft. Edge of Philly Sports and Clear the Ice. Again, I don't know who exactly from Clear the Ice will be here, with the exception of me. I think Al's going to produce. Other than that, I don't know. We'll figure it out as we're going. We're trying. We got a lot of things going on, but we will definitely have that worked out here in the next couple of weeks. But until we talk again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for allowing me to kick off your Philadelphia Sports Week. And until we talk again, that is the news, and I'm out of here.